Good morning, everyone. It's Diana, and I'm going to be doing the last week of a project for Perfectly Pears. It's the suite that was featured for August, and we're going to do a self-locking gatefold card. And this is the card that we're going to be doing, and this is the lock that slides on to the card. Now, when I made this card this week, I used Old Olive. Never thought to look. I thought I had a whole package somewhere, and I couldn't find it, so I've decided we're going to do this in Darling Duckling. So you can see how the two different colors work with the card. This particular paper, the Painterly Pears paper, I really love it. It has a lot of potential. Earlier in August, I did 13 cards from the 2 pages that were in there that have the border going all the way around. These were just some of the cards. We'll just do a quick recap. I did some that were slimline cards. Okay, get another slim one here. This one I did the matching envelope using the two-tone cardstock 12 by 12, the embossing folder, and then just roughing it with a sanding block with the matching card. So those were just some of the 13 cards. These don't have greetings on, but they will this weekend because I have customers that have made purchases. So these will be thank you cards. And then we also did, there's another one there, and another one. And then week 2, I showed you how to do the window sheet card using that same paper. That was the one we did in the class. This was the one that I did as my sample. And then I got coffee mark in it, and it's absorbed into the paper, and I couldn't erase it. So I put a little pear and some designs up there, and then added a couple of little pears down there just to offset a little bit. And then last week, I showed you how to make this origami fold gift card holder that I had seen Lisa Zawalnik do. The only thing I did differently was I added a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 Darling Duckling to it to give it some stability rather than it just being the Designer Series paper. So if you'd followed along and did the cards, you would have had 19 cards when we finished today, which isn't too bad. And I still have more than a half a pack of my Designer Series paper to use up. So it's been good value for the money. This is the stamp set, the bundle. I actually bought the whole suite. Great images. The greetings are a little bit small, but they work well. This is the congratulations one. I used hello, I think, last week. So they're very small. They're not very big. The nice part about this is the dies. The dies in this kit, or this bundle rather, work with the stamped images, but they also work with this paper, which I showed you the very first week, I believe. And the little pears, it works with the big pear, it works with the leaves, and it even works with those pink flowers. So all that's left are really the yellow flowers. And if you want to fussy cut those, by all means, go ahead. So again, I've used less than one sheet, and the pieces that I have left over from that sheet, I've just put in this case for now because I can go ahead and still cut more things out. I also showed you in one session that you can take one of the okay, I lost my train of thought. You can take and stamp with your pear stamp and a little bit of the strawberry slush down one side of the pear to give it more color, because not all the pears have the pinky tone to them. So it adds a little bit to it. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over today's class. It's pretty easy. Everyone pretty much knows how to make a gatefold card, so we're going to do that. So you're going to need, and I'm going to be switching, as I said, Darling Duckling, because I don't have extra old olive. So we're just going to do this pretty easily. I've gotten to the habit, I don't make one card of something, I make a couple. So I'm going to score this first. So when you do a gatefold card that is vertical, half of the 4 1/4 that's along the side is 2 1/8. So I'm immediately just going to score. Make sure my cutting blade is out of the way. I'm going to turn it around. You could pull the arm out on your cutter, your trimmer, and do that. And I'm going to do 2 1/8 on this side. And then I'm going to cut it in half at 5 1/2. So I will get 2 cards. Everybody knows how to fold them, so I'm not going to do that. I've already got one folded and ready to go. To make the card, you're just going to need some other little pieces. And let me just gather those up here. So you're going to need a piece of the Designer Series paper, because in the card, on the inside, I added Designer Series paper and then some white, just for some interest. If I was going to do this just as a gatefold card on its own, I would also put strips of pattern paper on the inside. But I don't want too much bulk here because the little sliding part has to slide down, and if you get too much bulk, it's not going to move the way it should. So I'm not putting anything on the back side. You could take the pear stamp, the little pear stamp, you could stamp the little pears if you wanted to do something to dress that up. I just opted to leave it plain. So again, this piece is going to measure 4 by 5 1/4. Just move the envelope and this other piece of paper out of the way for a minute. You're going to need 2 pieces that measure 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And then you're going to need some scraps to cut the hexagon. You can use any shape you want. You can use circles, you can use triangles, diamonds, any of the stamps or dies that you wanted. I just wanted to use the hexagon because I haven't used it for a while. So I punched out 2 of those. And I punched out 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 1 3/4 inches that are going to be folded, and they're going to become the mechanism that makes this card slide, the opening slide. I'll put that over there. And then you're going to need a piece that's 3 1/4 by 4 1/2, and that's the piece that will go on top of the pattern paper that will go inside your card. So let's get ready to assemble. The other thing that you will need, I should mention, is some basic white for your greeting. I used the die that was in the stamp set, or the bundle rather, and I used the Secret Sea ink because the background in the paper is Secret Sea. It's got a little bit of cloud cover in there. It's got Darling Duckling, some strawberry slush. So it pretty much has all the 5 ink colors in it. And then I die cut out the little pears, and what I did was take my utility knife and cut away these 2 areas because it was too much white. Or you could do it with scissors, just get a fine tip scissors and cut it out. I just used my X-Acto knife. And then you're going to need a part of a flower, and I just use some of the paper that I had, some scraps left over, I covered the envelope. And then I just went, and some of these flowers are like along the edge. Use them because we just need a little hint of color on this particular mechanism. So this flower did not have complete petals down here, so I just used it anyway by putting it on the base of here. So we have a flower, and then again, you know that our measurements are 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 2 1/8. So I'm going to start with the mechanism first, and the reason I'm doing that is because it needs a moment to dry before you put it on the card and slide it. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for a moment. So with the mechanism, what I did with one of the pieces is I took a pencil and I went kind of halfway with my pencil. And then what we're going to do is score the two little pieces that are 1 inch by 1 3/4. Get my trimmer back up here. And we're going to score those because half of 1 3/4 is 7/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to put this in my trimmer so it's at 7/8 of an inch. Move my cutting blade out of the way and score that a few times. And I'm going to do the same with the second piece. My fingers don't want to work today. So again, it's 7/8. Now, this is a rectangular one. If you were doing circles, so say you were using a 2 1/4 inch circle, you could use a 1 7/8 inch circle and use those as your base and just fold them in half too, so they're circular to go with the main circle that's your feature point. So we're just going to take these little things that we've done, fold them in half. And I'm going to take my paper and my bone folder. Actually, you don't need it because this is going on the inside, so no one's ever going to see this if it's got shiny marks from burnishing. Just burnish it really good. Now I'm going to take those two folded pieces and apply a little adhesive. You could use your tear and tape. You could use your Seal Plus. I'm just using my Tombow glue. I'm a liquid glue girl. Hope everybody's getting ready for the nice long weekend. The weather should be nice and comfortable. Hard to believe that we're going into September. So I'm just placing the folded edge against the line that I did. I'm going to kind of make it center there. So the little flap is like that. And then I'm going to do the same on the other one. And I'm butting that up. So what we end up with is like having little wings here and two pieces that are adhered to the base. So I'm just going to give that a good rub and give that a good rub. Now I'm going to take my eraser and just get rid of the lines. No one would see them anyway, but I get in the habit if I put pencil on my card somewhere, I take it off. Sorry if the table is moving a little bit when I'm doing that. Now what I'm going to do is make sure the flaps are down. going to just apply some adhesive on these flaps. Then I'm going to take my other punched out piece and I'm going to lay it on top. And just make sure that it matches, so it looks something like that. And I'm just going to let that adhere for a few minutes before we play around with it. I have something there. There we go. Get rid of that and that. All right, so let's make our card. It's pretty straightforward, very easy, just simple gatefold, nothing too complicated. More pieces. So we're going to start. I ran all my pieces of designer paper through my embossing folder. I used the exposed brick one that's still current. I kind of like it because it has a direction to it, but I just like it for a background. It's just for very plain and simple, no words or anything that you have to worry about, making sure the words are facing the right way. So we're just going to do that. Now when I cut it, I want to make sure that my pieces match, because I cut this piece and then cut it again. So I want these pears to match. Now, normally when I do a gatefold card, I would have made this piece to be like 1 3/4 by 5 1/2 or 4 1/4, and then I would have done a contrasting plain color underneath. But I'm trying to keep it relatively thin for the mechanism to work properly. And I'm just going to add that to this. Hoping it's pretty straight. I have the camera right in my face here, so it's hard to tell. Looks okay when I look at the screen on my phone. And you can see that when I use liquid glue, I stay away from the edges, because glue displaces itself when you put it down. And that way you don't get ink all over your fingers and all over your card. And I'm hoping that looks right. And then we're going inside. The nice part about the exposed brick, if you look at the way that Stamping Up has designed it, the grout is actually sticking up. If you look at the bricks, the grout, and if you look at your own bricks, the grout is recessed. So if you make a mistake putting the paper in the right size, that folder is very forgiving, because it works in both ways, the way that Stamping Up designed it and the way bricks actually look. And this is the piece that was 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Normally I would do something to a piece inside the card, like add a strip, but we already have the pattern paper, or I might emboss the edge, but I've opted to leave it plain. Now, I've had people say to me, well, you know, you use that liquid glue and you put it on, but you can still see through the basic white. So what I like to do is take my bone folder, and I just like to smooth it out a little bit. So that way it takes away the bumps and lumps that may be there from the glue. Okay, so that's our gatefold card. And it's not quite matching at the bottom, so I'm just going to push it so it does. And now, because I didn't burnish this down before I started designing, I should have done the burnishing. There, that's better. So it matches and you don't see anything showing. So now I set the gizmo aside that we did. I had one done up so that I could just slide this along. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the piece in and you're going to go between the two layers. And then what you need to do is just bend your card on the opposite side ever so slightly to get it to go in. And then we're just going to glide it up and down. Now you will notice, and I haven't found a way to perfect this yet, and I've been looking at a lot of videos, is you will get a little bit of an opening. So this slides up and down. So what I've seen them tell you to do, and I've tried it and it didn't work for me, so I'm not sure what other trick they had, is they said to put and really burnish. And I did that, and it's a little bit closer, but it's not right to each other, whereas when it's not got this on it, it comes close to being closed. So when I find the secret, I'll post it. Now I looked at designing this. I was going to go, but the big pear is too big. So I went with the two little pears. I left the white on. I think I've mentioned to you before that one of the, I think it was Wendy Lee and somebody else suggested getting rid of the white by using either Pool Party or Smoky Slate Light Pool Party. Takes away, and yes it does, and it would be fine on this card, but the pear's too big. So I'm just going to put a little glue on the bottom edge of this. You don't have to get crazy with the glue. Move that out of the way so I don't get glue on anything. And I'm just going to kind of put it so some of the leaves of the pears are kind of hanging over. I'm going to take my congratulations, and I'm not using any dimensionals on this. I want to make sure I only put glue partway on the greeting, because this is going to hang over the edge of the hexagon punch. And what would help, Diane, is if you put your pears on straight. Actually, we're going to leave them on an angle. Let's see how it looks. We'll just straighten out the greeting. It's all good. And I'm straightening it out. There we go. I don't mind the pears on an angle. And I'm going to take a little flower that I cut out. And I might leave that one just fully on its own, not cut off the bottom edge. I might just have the little petals hang down. Now, on the other one that I did, when I used embellishments, I used the low profile sparkle spots. It looks like Darling Ducklings, Secret Sea, and I'm not sure if this is supposed to, I think it's supposed to be Old Olive, But we're just going to use the old olive because on the other one that I did, I used the Darling Duckling. I actually put it on 3 places in my card. I put it on down here on the card and then a couple here. I wanted to make sure that when I put it on the base of the card, it wasn't going to affect the mechanism coming down. So we're going to use, I'm not sure I want the secret C, but let's just see. And I don't have my take a pick tool here, so let me just try this and see how I like it. Oh, that's not bad. I might add one to the center of the flower. And I'm just going to put this mechanism in. Give it a slight fold. I can see where I have a little bit of adhesive there from moving the congratulations around. And for some reason, my eraser has disappeared. I will use a glue eraser on this. I have a little bit of adhesive showing here that I don't like. And I guess my eraser has sprouted legs. For sure it has. All right. And I'm just going to slide this down a little bit. Oh, come on down. Oh, it doesn't want to come. There we go. Pull it from the side. So I'm going to pull it down maybe not halfway, maybe a third of the way up. Okay. There we go. And I might add another bigger gem, maybe down there on the pear, where it will show a little bit. Okay, and that's still not straight. That's the nice part of liquid glue. It stays pliable for a while. So that's the card for today. And that is in the Darling Duckling. And this one is in the Old Olive. You'll find after you slide this down 1 or 2 times, the sliding mechanism works a little bit better. There we go. So there's the 2. I think I'm actually liking, I think I like the Darling Duckling more than I do the Old Olive, but that's just preference. So thanks for watching. This will be the last presentation covering the Painterly Pears. I hope you have a great long weekend with a little crafting in there, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.